Can Namshar bring it back? He's got to win 2 in a row if he wants to get out of this group. We are at the last match of the evening, so whoever wins this series moves on. Whoever loses goes home. We do have our players getting into position. Namshar, interestingly, choosing Terran. I have to at least check that in a second.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure Nemshar's Terran isn't bad, but I don't know if he wants to go up against Zaka with it. Maybe he saw Dolan playing and was like, ooh, maybe I can do some of that, but I'm sure he, in fact, wants to play Zerg.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting here. Namshar's got his work cut out for him. Really nice plays from Zaka. He just seems like overall just such a much stronger player. Tactically, build order wise, just thinking through what he's doing.
It's kind of funny, though, because Zake in both of his series against Namshar has kind of been just outthinking him. But isn't that what we saw Dolan do to Zake?
Yeah, I think so. I think really the main strength of Dolan against Zaka was certainly the tactical play, in the mid game, just moving the units. It wasn't necessarily like a build order win or a loss, or wasn't a big move into a unit composition. It was just using the units that he had very well, very tactically, and like you said, outthinking him in the sort of unit positioning stage of the game. Spawning here. He's only 1 win away from moving on to the round of 8, going up against Pend Bear Me in the round of 8 of the RSL. We have the Teal Protoss. He is Zaka.
And spawning in the upper left-hand position, we have a player who he needs to bring it back now. If he doesn't win this map, he's out. Namshar.
Okay, lovely observing skills of Hawkeye coming into play there. The fantastic goo of the Shining Hatchery being displayed there. And we do have no early shenanigans coming out from Namshar.
Yep, going for a pretty normal hatch first. Looks like everything's normal there, and on Zake's side, he's going for a Nexus first. I'm somewhat surprised that Namshar hasn't pulled out an early pool sort of build versus Zake, because I think in 3 out of the 4 games so far, Zake has done a Nexus first versus Namshar. The only game where he didn't was on Laralac, where it's really, really hard to defend a natural against an early pool. But even so, like, I'm just kind of surprised Namshar hasn't flipped that coin yet.
Yeah, it's he's not going all the way greed with a double hatch before pool, but skipping the gas and going for the expansion. Especially this early. Sometimes when you go gasless, you take the expansion at 20. He just took that at 18. So it's going to be a pretty quick third here. So I think nice position for Namshar overall concerning economy.
Oh yeah, definitely. And on Zake's side, pretty normal stuff. He's still doing weird stuff with his gas saturation. He has 2 in one gas, 1 in the other. He pulled 1 out to build the Cyber Core, and now he has 2 in each. Like, I think he just has this down to, like, such a science. Now he has 3 and 2.
Yep. Yeah, it's one of those things, one of the basic things to understand when you're first considering these kind of situations is that the third worker on the gas geyser is less efficient than the first 2. So, whereas the first 2 will bring in, I think, 50, not 50, I think somewhere around 40 minerals per minute. The third one will do somewhere around 30. That's in the old Heart of the Swarm time. I don't have the new numbers memorized, but still same basic principle. That third worker, not as efficient. So you're going to get more gas if you go 2 in one geyser, 1 in the other, than if you go 3 in one geyser. Double Adepts on the way, as is expected from Zaka after the Nexus first.
Yep, he's chronoing them out. He's actually sending them across the map right away this time, which is different from the decisions he's made in the past. In Game 1, in their first series on Ruins, he actually kept the Adepts around until he was sure that he could be safe. But now he isn't, and 2 lanes are going to come up the ramp as a result because those Adepts have left.
Yep, and nice stuff overall here. Adepts can get a pretty good scout off. Going to move into the third base and the natural jumping over.
Both players Both players are getting a read on what their opponents are doing here. JaKaTaK is trying to pick off drones. He's killed 2, but he's going to lose both of his adepts for it.
Does manage to see quite a bit, and I think one of the big tells here for Namshar is this pretty good third.
Yeah, he knows. His reaction to that is not to try to punish it with units. He just pumped out another 12 drones, which brings him up to 44. He's not actually that far ahead of the Protoss right now, which is somewhat surprising. It's 43 drones to 41. He just built something, I guess. But
yeah, we have the Roach Warren and Evo Chamber continuing to drone up as well. Might decide to make a move. Not going double Evo here, so it does lend itself a bit more towards the aggressive side of things. Double Stargate to follow up. Pretty common in the meta right now.
Yeah, people really like going for those Phoenix heavy plays. They really deal with mutas and give you a lot of map control while you tech up, keep you safe.
Gonna scout forward, see a bunch of adepts. Very, very big delay on the Zergling speed here.
Oh wow, it just started, yeah. Won't be done for some time.
Very nice corner cut there for Namshar. Not really gonna need that Zergling speed for the most part. Unless someone goes for very aggressive adepts like the 4 Nexus first. Actually don't need that Zergling speed for quite a while, and Namshar is gonna go ahead and get more roaches up, get his +1 started first.
He's building 8 roaches. His layer's already done as a result of having cut Zergling speed for so long. But right now, he doesn't have spores, so the Phoenixes might be able to do damage. And the Adepts are moving into the natural where there are not much defenses.
Yep. Roach is going to be pretty critical in the defense here, but these... Oh, I don't know about that move. Attacking with the drones makes it really easy to go ahead and attack move. Otherwise, you have to focus fire, which can be quite difficult. And Adepts have projectiles, so they do indeed overkill.
Yep. 8 drones go down there, which is pretty good for JaKaTaK. Is Namshar aware of these Phoenixes yet? I don't think he is. No, he isn't. So
yeah, he's suicidal over. He's got them in position on the left and the right. The Overlord clamp coming in from both directions, and we should see them soon, but not in any sort of time to make stuff happen. He's already moving into Hydralisks. He's already got spores up. He's sort of the natural, like, yeah, you know what? If nothing's happened by this point in time, doesn't have any sort of big army, just throw up the spores. 1 for each base.
And yep, 6 Phoenixes are moving out, trying to see if they can pick off some drones. He does have all the spores in the correct positions, and he's actually building extra ones. He's building 2 at each of his bases to try to keep himself from taking too much damage.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the time, with this big commitment, it can be worth it to build 2 per base, because with only 1, you're going to lose that drone anyway to the harassment of the Phoenixes. These Overlords, oh my god, way out of position.
Yeah, he fortunately did research Overlord speed, so he is able to get most of them out of there, but he is supply blocked 100 out of 82 because he lost 4 or 5 Overlords there, and he's losing an Overseer now.
Resupplying here is Namshar. Very much aware that the Overlords will be killed, sort of accepting that those losses are in the cards.
So right now there's
moving out in the middle of the map a bit between his natural and his third, pulling back.
A moment ago there was something in the production tab that you don't see very often, and that is 2 Templar archives. Looks like, yep, he just noticed. He made 2 of them by mistake and canceled 1. Little funny mistake there. He did catch it in time, so he didn't accidentally build 2 of the same text structure.
Yep. And,
he is committing.
You can't even make it look like you did it intentionally. If you build 2 Roach Warrens, like, yeah, I'll get Roach Burrow move speed and regular speed at the same time. I meant to do that. It's a timing. But like with High Templar, it's just sort of like, in case he kills one, I'll have a backup. And it's like, no, that's not how StarCraft works.
Yeah, and so JaKaTaK is going into an army of Charge Lot, Archons. He has a few sentries, and he's building Immortals now. So he is that kind of standard big beefy army. And he just warped in a bunch of Zealots in the natural while he's pushing towards the 4th base.
Oh wow, quite a bit of army supply over there in the 4th base. Namshar going to come back with a lot of units to clean this up. I think a bit too many. He's going to pay for it. Going to be losing some workers here, and we'll probably lose that hatchery as well. Really nice move here from JaKaTaK again. Indirect attack, direct attack, coming together as one.
And he does get the hatch, which is really nice for him because he has his own 4th base already completed. He does have a lot of money right now, so yeah, he is warping in a lot of Zealots. Should be able to fight off any counter aggression that should come out from Namshar, whose Lurker Den's almost done though, so that might be able to allow him to kind of zone out ZaKaTaK.
Yeah, Namshar has quite a nice gas bank here to get that Lurker Morph coming in when that Lurker Den finishes up. Gotta be careful. A lot of units over here for Zaka. This might be a bit of an overextension, especially with Hydralisks. +2 finishing up.
So
yeah, there he goes. There's the morph.
Yeah, for similar reasons on why you shouldn't take your 3rd here versus Terran, it's not great to take it here versus Zerg. Most people do anyway because it's easier for them to snipe it with Lings if you take it in the other position. But Namshar could just put 2 Lurkers on the high ground behind this 4th, and they're actually in range to hit the mineral line and the Nexus. And he's putting 1 there right now.
Look at this. He's going to burrow 1. He's going to pull the attention of Zaka over to the side. He's also getting in position down this sort of choke area as well. Very difficult to engage into. He has everything burrowed up before the attack comes in. Very, very important. Catching the Lurker unburrowed can be your undoing as a Zerg.
Yeah, this is definitely the kind of position where you want to have disruptors. He does get nice force fields off and kills off a bunch of the roaches. There's only Hydras left
down now.
Yep. Loses that 4th base. Has to take it somewhere else. Zealots run into the 4th and are trying to pick it off, but there are units
look at that.
time.
Getting some worker kills as well as really getting that health of the hatchery into the red. Very much in danger of losing that.
Yeah, so right now ZaKaTaK's army, it's not that good against what Namshar has, with the exception of the Phoenixes. If he can pick up a lot of these Lurkers, his army will do much better against it. And we do see the engagement
here,
now.
Starting to pick up those Lurkers, like you said, taking them out of the equation, maybe for long enough for Zaka to get an advantage. Immortal's doing a lot of damage, but the Hydralisk reinforcement comes in. It looks like Namshar is ahead here.
Oh yeah, definitely. ZaKaTaK's trying to recover. He just warped in about 10 Zealots at the natural of Namshar, and there are not going to be units here in time to save it, so this hatch is forfeit.
Yeah, this counter-harass is really what's keeping Zaka in the game, more so than pretty much anything else. He needs that War Prism to stay alive, keep dealing harassment damage, otherwise he's going to be in big trouble.
Yeah. And the cool thing is, with Legacy, these Zealots are able to do a bit better against the defending forces since they do extra damage on impact now.
Yep. 8 additional damage, 50% increase from before. And big move. Man, these charge lots are doing so much damage.
Yeah. They are going to be cleaned up, though, so Namshar is stabilizing at home, and Zaka doesn't have a 4th base anymore, which is somewhat painful. Granted, Namshar doesn't have a natural.
Yeah. And the way that things mine out, you'd rather have a 4th base than a natural, unless your 4th base, unless your natural was like your layer with all your tech. Otherwise, I'm going to try to save some of these with the long-range pickup of the Warp Prism. Nice observer spread coming out here. Really pretty heavy observer. How many do you have? 4 observers. Oh.
Yeah, you don't tend to see as many observers made by Protoss against Zerg because there isn't that big risk of drops like you have versus Terran. Generally, you'll see players make 2 or 3 max if they're fighting against Lurkers. Maybe he's worried that he will lose his detection of the Lurkers.
Yeah, it's definitely a really important thing to have that backup detection. You can't wait until you run out of detection to build more.
Yeah,
command here might lose this observer to the Spore Crawler. Yes, indeed.
Against this kind of defensive posture that Namshar has, where he has a lot of Hydras, he has plenty of detection, 2 Overseers and a Spore, and Lurkers, you really need a Oracle if you want to try to break this ever, because there's no way you're ever going to be able to see the Lurkers otherwise.
Yeah, I really love the way they changed the Oracle and Legacy of the Void to make it just not just another way to detect, but a unique way to detect. For those of you who aren't aware of the changes, the way that it works is you throw down Revelation, and then all units hit by that Revelation are detected
for a certain amount of time. So they can't run away from the detection or snipe it. Once that spell is cast, they're detected.
Zaka looks for a 5th base and doesn't find one. And he's like, well, I guess I'll clear creep, because he knows he does not have the army he would need to break this lurker count. And he's saturating his own 4th back at home.
Wow, that 2-kill lurker up on the high ground's still there
Oh, it is.
from that initial attack. It's going to scout this warp prism, actually. And Zaka's got a pretty big force out here, moving to the front. Canceled units over there. Those are canceled, morphing in lurkers. Lurker count is getting quite high. And more lurkers, up to 17 now.
He's the same number of lurkers as he has hydras, 17. Yeah, this is not the army that Zaka needs to fight this. He won't be able to break this many lurkers. And if you look at the supplies, it's 186 to 141.
Oh, going for that observer there for a second.
Although I don't think Namshar should be pushing forward with this Roach Hydra, because he's just going to lose it.
And you say Roach Hydra, but I mean, it's also just mostly Hydras off creep. Quite slow.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. No, he's got the upgrade by now. Never mind. Hydras are so weird, man. Every other unit, when they have a speed upgrade, it's just a regular speed upgrade. But Hydras, when they get their speed upgrade, it only counts for when it's off creep. It's like, what?
Yeah. So Zaka pushes in. He sees like this incredible lurker count up to 21 now, and he's like, yeah, no, I'm going home.
I'm going to just take another base.
Yeah,
moving up now to 5 bases. Spending all the way to the left. He does not want... He realized the folly of his mistake before he was like, oh yeah, taking that expansion is an awful idea. Not going to do that. Nice tracking turret display there from the Immortal. Allows to get a couple shots off before being wrecked in the face. Yeah. Engaging without the lurkers here. He may just have enough to do it.
Yeah, Namshar almost has enough units where, like, there is a lot of Immortals, but as long as he's trading, like, Zaka's army does not have a lot to it at all. And 21 lurkers can just push in. This is the kind of army where you see him kind of just walk into point blank and burrow, and the Protoss army kind of just goes away.
Well, in the past, it's been the harassment that's kept Zaka alive here, but Warp Prism not out on the map. Gonna try to do a straight up run by on the ground, and not nearly as affected. Oh, totally out of position though. These lurkers moving into the 4th base. Oh my god, it's just like a pure lurker force. That's a really good angle for Zaka.
Yeah. He picks off...
Not enough units to take it, though.
Yeah, he picks off the Roach Hydra, but there's no way he's going to be able to break this number of lurkers. He gets the probes out, but now he's kind of segmented off from his other nexus, and he's trying to push across the map and do counter damage instead.
It's a decent idea. A lot of the map being mined out right now. This 4th base is actually the only income for Namshar. And that's it. No mineral patches, or almost no mineral patches left for Namshar with that kill. In the meantime, Namshar kind of locking in this army, saying, you can't escape. He's just going to move in over here, potentially take out a lot of these lurkers.
So,
not going to be able to pull it off.
Namshar split his force. He actually has a bunch of lurkers at the 3rd of Zaka right now. Zaka got out 2 disruptors, and a 3rd one as well, but it died. So Zaka's trying to pick away, but oh no! The disruptors...
Oh man, so many units all over the map here. Disruptors falling down. This is not looking good for Zaka at all. Looks like Namshar has managed to claw his way back in, and we're going to be going to game 3 here, just as soon as Zaka GG's out.
Yep, there we finally see it there. Zaka, just waiting for Zaka to come to terms with his loss. So now the series is tied 1-1. The winner of the next game will move on to the round of 8, which is really exciting. Namshar might be able to pull the upset and win in the counter match, whereas he fell in the first match.
Yeah, losing 0-2 in the first match, coming back, making it 1-1. If he wins here, he will be moving on. That could be one of the most frustrating things as the player in the initial scenario. They look at the game score and like, well, I won 3 games and you won 2 games, but you get to move on. It's like, but
yeah,
that second match so much more important
because you have at that point in time squandered the fact that you won your first match. And it's all down to that last match where I feel like as matches go on between players, we see more and more who the stronger player is. Less and less scenarios where it's just like, oh, you just caught me off guard with this build that you have, or whatever it might be. And it was very impressive play from Namshar, adapting in game 2 with his life on the line. And now it's it. It's down to one game, and not only is it down to one game, it's down to one game on Arena.
Yeah, this map, if we're going to see an early pull, it probably will be on this map. And I'm fairly confident Zaka will not try to go Nexus first on this map for that very reason. The rush distance on this map is so much shorter than any other map in the pool. And you can block it off with a pylon, which is nice, but even so, if the Lings break through, you can be in trouble.
Yep, it's one of those situations we were talking about earlier, the relativity of ZVZ. You look at normal Zerg openers and you say, okay, you have to adjust this because ZVZ is a more aggressive matchup. In a similar way, you have to look at this PVZ on Arena, and the Arena is just an aggressive map with a short rush distance. So something that was once, safe before, and now that's the greedy build. The build that Zaka has been doing, the sort of